Damn, I need a haircut. I ran my hands through my hair looking in the mirror. I was in the bathroom of a Mexican restaurant in Texas. I splashed water on my face from the faucet. Man, I look like shit. But what else could I expect? I've been on the road for at least 10 hours now. Tomorrow, I have an interview with a job offering a good starting wage and room to grow in the company. Not a bad opportunity for a fresh out of college undergrad. Plus, it's a good start on paying back my student loans, which are literally killing me just thinking about. After graduating, I didn't have any leads for a job since I spent majority of my time partying and trying to get laid. So I moved back in with my parents in Fairbury, a little city in Nebraska. Not ideal and a little pathetic, but I couldn't afford an apartment for myself, not even a studio. I spent the next couple of weeks applying to any job that would accept my resume. Literally, in-state, out-of-state, international, nothing was off the table for me. If I could afford a place without roommates and kickstart a career, I'd take it. After some dumb luck, I received an email from a cybersecurity company asking for a phone interview. They were looking for a sales representative. Without hesitation, I replied and accepted. They must have liked me because they wanted an in-person interview. They asked what day I could make it, and due to excitement and not really thinking ahead, I told them the sooner the better. They said they had a spot available this upcoming Thursday. I agreed and thanked them for the opportunity. In hindsight, I should have pushed the date back because the in-person interview was in Austin, Texas. But I was scared that they would find a better candidate for the job if I didn't accept the interview right away. Since it was Tuesday, I only really had a day to travel to Austin. I told my parents about the interview, and we celebrated by getting breakfast pizza from Casey's. Not the best pizza by any means, but every bite brings back childhood memories. I went to bed early because I knew I had a long drive ahead of me. In the morning, I packed some clothes and left Fairbury around 5 a.m. I wanted to get to Austin before sunset. Whenever I travel, I like to give myself challenges. It gives the trip more purpose. I was surprised by how easy the drive was. All I had to do was go south on I-35 until I reached Austin. It was pretty much a straight shot there. Not bad. I listened to all my favorite podcasts while driving. The hours flew by as I fell into a highway hypnosis. The only time I'd be broken from this trance was when the car light for low gas came on. When I stopped to get gas, I would, stretch and get back on the highway. Despite the leftover pizza and coffee I had for breakfast, I didn't eat because I didn't want to take that many bathroom breaks. There's nothing more annoying than being on a long drive and having to stop every 30 minutes for a bathroom break. I also don't trust putting my ass cheeks near a public toilet. I was driving through a city called Temple, Texas, about an hour away from Austin, when suddenly my stomach began to growl. Damn! I didn't want to stop and eat, but my body was sort of forcing me at this point. I was getting the hunger pains. I took a detour and randomly picked a place to eat near me. It was a Mexican restaurant located downtown. It only took me 10 minutes to get there. Even though I didn't want to stop my trip, I was pretty excited to try some new food. The Mexican restaurant was pretty standard when I walked in. I liked that it wasn't busy, meaning I'll be able to get my food quick and be in Austin before the night ends. I sat down and a waiter came to my table. He handed me a huge menu. Holy hell! I guess there's more than one way to put beans in a tortilla. There were some things on the menu that seemed good, but I didn't know how to pronounce. So to save myself the embarrassment, I just ordered 2 chicken tacos. Before I ate, I went to the bathroom to wash up. That's when I noticed I really needed a shave and a haircut. I've been so busy stressing and searching for a job that I've overlooked my appearance. My hair was shaggy and my beard was downright unacceptable. I hate that I can't grow a beard. My shit always grows in patchy and stringy. It makes me look like I get arrested for being around playgrounds. I have a barber back home who usually takes care of me for cheap, but he can't help me now. I guess I'll see if there's a barbershop nearby that can give me a haircut. Hopefully they're open because it was getting late. If not, I get a haircut first thing in the morning in Austin. After I washed my hands, I got back to my table and the tacos were already there. That was fast, but then again, they're only tacos. It didn't take me long to eat. Next time I'll try something more elaborate. I paid for my meal and tipped my waiter. I walked out of the restaurant and typed in barbershop on my phone. There has to be one close by, I'm downtown after all. And to my surprise, there was. It was just down the street. Nice. After a little walk, I was already in front of the barbershop. The sign posted in front of the building read, "Hell of a cut barbershop." The sign also had a vintage smiling devil next to the font holding scissors. Odd. I swore I drove by this building before I got dinner, but this space was empty. Whatever. I guess I'm just an idiot and didn't notice. I pushed the front door open and an old school bell chimed above the door. The inside of the place was immaculate. The walls were exposed brick. The floor, shelves, and counters were all polished wood, and the seats were all black leather deco barber chairs. It was like taking a step back in time with how vintage the place looked. The only eerie detail about the inside was that the huge mirrors in front of the barber chairs didn't have glass in them, just the frames of the mirror. It was unsettling. I guess they were changing out glass? I don't know. But after admiring the store's ambiance and layout, my attention was then fixed on the only man in the barbershop. The guy looked like a fucking cartoon. His haircut was obviously killer. He was sporting a vintage comb-over with a hard side part, but his facial hair is where he lost me. He had an obnoxious handlebar mustache and beard. I'll give the man props. He had very luscious and prosperous facial hair. Maybe I was a bit jealous and insecure because, again, my shit sucks ass. But it takes a certain type of person to pull off the look, and usually those kinds of people are chodes. I'd bet money this guy listens to music on a vinyl player and has a huge library of books he doesn't read. It's people like this that think if they were born during another time period that they'd be cool, but in reality, they'd still suck in that time period as well. Along with his anomalous facial hair, this man's attire was also boisterous. He was wearing a three-piece suit from the 1920s. Despite his outlandish appearance, the guy was a handsome son of a bitch. He had tan skin, jet black hair, and piercing blue eyes. Because of his darker features, it made his eyes even more penetrating. It's clear this guy fucks. He was standing in the middle of the shop, as if he was already waiting for me.
Welcome.
His voice was warm and commanding. I was still getting adjusted to his handsomeness, so my response was a bit timid at first. Hello, I'm sorry, I was hoping to get a haircut.
Yes, I can see you need a trim. With your current condition, your need is dire. But don't fret, don't worry, no need to be grim. For I know what you need, I know what you desire. A haircut from me is all that you require.
What the fuck was that? I already couldn't get a read on this guy, and now he's speaking in rhyme? Was this part of a gimmick? Intimidated and bewildered, I asked the barber hesitantly, "Do I make an appointment or do you take walk-ins?"
Do you see anyone else here awaiting a haircut from my comb and shear?
No.
Congratulations, you're up, you're next. Adhere to my chair. Don't be perplexed.
The barber gave a devilish grin. I froze in uneasiness. This quirky motherfucker was making me uncomfortable. I always feel weird around people with aberrant behavior because I never know how to react. A huge part of me wanted to rush out of the door, but I was compelled to sit in the barber's chair. I guess a part of me wanted to see how long he could keep up this character. I took a seat. My body sank into the black leather chair. The barber smelled like fresh aftershave as he got close to me. He wrapped a barber's cape around my neck gently. His demeanor was welcoming, but I still didn't feel comfortable. To ease some of the tension, I tried striking up a conversation. "So what's up with the mirrors? Where's the glass?" The barber didn't respond or acknowledge me. His attention was on my hair as he combed his hands through it. His touch was firm yet delicate. He stopped running his hands through my hair.
Yes, that will do. Soon, new haircut to debut.
He slowly reached into a cabinet and pulled out shears, combs, an antique spray bottle, and some vintage straight-edge razors. He placed them carefully on the counter, almost ceremoniously. His movements were alluring. I was mesmerized and a tingling sensation erupted down my spine. I felt awkward because this is the first time I've experienced this. There's a weird acronym for this feeling, but I couldn't think of it. To break the silence, I tried to invoke a conversation again. "You don't have to do anything fancy to my hair, just a trim will work." He didn't respond to my comment. The barber continued lining his equipment on the counter. When he finished, he turned around leisurely. He gazed at my face. I turned away quickly and pretended we just didn't lock eyes. Damn it, this handsome motherfucker was sizing me up. His gaze didn't leave my face as he walked steadily towards me. I was trying my best to play it off that I wasn't intimidated. He stopped right in front of me. That's when I noticed that he wasn't looking into my eyes. He was looking at my shitty beard. He calmly ran the back of his hand down my cheek.
This beard is not satisfactory. It certainly won't do. Let me rectify this issue. Free of charge for you?
Sure, that sounds good. Man, I knew I sounded like a bitch. But if he was gonna shave my beard for free, why not? I didn't have a lot of it, so I knew he wouldn't be able to shave an eccentric mustache or something. He walked back to the cabinet and opened a new drawer. He pulled out an antique cup, along with some small bottles and creams. I assumed they were pre-shave and aftershave. He lined all of his shaving equipment next to the shears and antique straight-edge shavers. He paused a bit and admired all the items he just laid out. It was silent. The barber inhaled and exhaled heavily. What the fuck? Was this guy about to work out? After the deep breathing, the barber turned around and smiled at me.
Before we start, your face needs preparation, like a meal, a la carte.
He walked towards the back of the room and disappeared into a hallway that I assumed led to a space in the back. I could hear him shuffling some things around. I got an uneasy feeling again that I should leave. But as I was contemplating that thought, the barber reappeared from the back. In his hands were a pile of towels. I could tell they were warm because I could see the steam dancing above the fabric. He placed the towels on the counter next to the other barber equipment. The barber turned around and smiled. Again, he brushed his hand against my terrible excuse for a beard.
Your beard lacks masculine physique. It's sparse, pubescent, and weak. I can see it in your eyes. Virile frame is something you seek. And with time, your follicles will peak, and your face will produce something truly unique.
After the barber insulted my lack of masculinity, he swiftly turned me around and lowered my head, and I was facing straight up.
The journey of a shave starts with the pores. They must be warm and open like maternal doors.
The barber wrapped one of the hot towels around my face, only leaving my nose exposed so I could breathe. He placed his hands over the towel and began to massage my face. The guy was weird for sure, but he knew his craft. This finally put me at ease. And to think, I was about to leave. The barber suddenly raised the towel and I could feel the warmth leave my skin. I could hear the barber begin to lather his hands with an oil.
This oil will lather and lave, so you can relax and enjoy your shave.
he began to rub the pre-shave on my face. I got that tingling sensation again as I watched the barber apply the cool pre-shave on my warm face. When he finished, the barber walked to this huge vintage hot lather dispenser. He switched it on and shaving cream was dispensed into a cup he was holding. He turned off the machine when the cup was a quarter full and reached for one of his shave brushes. He started to lather the shaving cream. When he finished, he began to apply the shaving cream to my face. Once there was a good application, the barber reached for one of his straight edge razors, and with serene hands, he began to shave downward on my face. I could tell the blade was sharp as it grazed my neck.
Your beard reminds me of a man I knew. He also had a beard that hardly grew.
There he goes again, shitting on my beard. I wanted to say something back, but it wouldn't be wise to confront a man holding a razor to your neck.
This man, named Robert, loved his wife. She was his muse, his goddess, his whole life. His wife was beautiful and Anna was her name. His love for Anna burned fiercely like a flame. Unfortunately for Robert, his flame was extinguished. Unbeknown to him, Anna easily relinquished. For Anna grew bored and wanted to play, so the neighbor would visit while Robert was away. At first, Anna felt guilty when she started the affair. The deceit, the lies, were almost too much to bear. But after time, she didn't really care. Robert was banal, vapid, who didn't have flair. She no longer loved him. She was quite aware. She would leave Robert soon, she said with a swear. She knew this to be true, with sex in the air. When the neighbors smacked her ass and pulled her hair, they would fuck and fuck until they couldn't fuck anymore. They fucked on the sofa and fucked on the floor. He fucked her fiercely until her body was sore. Anna loved being a filthy little whore. As she screamed and trembled with an orgasmic roar. But today would end different, not the same as before. Robert would be home a little after 4. Robert parked the car and walked towards his house. Little did he know, the neighbor was enjoying his spouse. Robert unlocked and opened the front door. He was welcomed to a frenzy he couldn't ignore. His wife was screaming in convulsing pleasance, being fucked by the neighbor's bulging excrescence. Malice, disgust, anguish, hate, and dread were some of the feelings that filled Robert's head. Robert walked to the garage. He did not speak. He did not run. He opened a drawer and reached for his gun. He loaded the magazine and began to cry. Why, oh why did love have to die? He loaded his gun and crept towards the room. His own boudoir would soon be his doom. Robert slowly and quietly opened the door. His face was greeted with a horrific eyesore. The neighbor on top of Anna fucking with primal vigor. Her body quivered in delight during the sexual rigor. Robert aimed the gun to the neighbor's head. He pulled the trigger and filled him with lead. Anna screamed as brains and blood covered the wall. But Robert was not satisfied. He still felt hatred and gall. What's the point of living if love isn't real? Robert was shattered. Life had no more appeal. He put the gun in his mouth. tasting the steel, squeezing his finger, he sealed the deal. What a terrible way to end the day.
The barber finished shaving my face in cadence to his story. I felt uncomfortable again, the way he stood over me, mincing, grinning. Why the fuck would he tell me that story? That's not some story you casually tell a client. I gripped the barber's chair. I was in a fight or flight state. The barber grabbed a warm towel, cleared the remaining shaving cream, threw the towel into a bin, and then began to massage my face.
Relax. Tension and stress is not good for the body. You'll become unattractive, unwanted, and shoddy. Here's the lesson of Robert's transgression. Listen up and take heed of the session. If you put all your trust into someone or anything, then prepare to be gutted and always lose everything.
I wanted to say something, but I couldn't. I felt like I was in a trance. Was this guy autistic or just insanely eccentric? What was the point of telling me that story? He stopped massaging my face and I opened my eyes. He placed my head upright and I saw him grabbing a comb and spray bottle that he laid out and turned himself towards me. He didn't look me in the eyes. His attention was engrossed with my hair now. He confidently made his way towards me and started to spray my hair and comb it back.
Your hair.
Yes, is something wrong? He continued to comb without responding to my concern.
Reminds me of a boy whose hair I cut. He was a fragile boy, like a mangy mutt. His hair was thick and dark as midnight. Cutting his hair was always a delight.
Oh shit, not another story. Did he have a cheating wife too? The barber stopped and casually walked towards the counter. He neatly settled the spray bottle down and picked up an exotic set of shears. This odd bastard was ignoring me again. I gave up on trying to talk to him. Clearly, this guy beats to the rhythm of his own drum. He began combing my hair and cutting the ends with the shears.
One day, little Charlie walked into my shop, ready for a snip, with the money his mother gave him for purchase, plus tip. Charlie was polite as he sat in my chair. He never fussed or complained while I cut his hair. After I finished, I gave Charlie a lollipop. He smiled and waved as he left my barbershop. Days later, the authorities stopped by. I was questioned about Charlie and didn't know why. Charlie never made it home. I was suspect in theory. I gave him his last haircut. How tragic. How eerie. I was cutting hair all day. That was my alibi. I showed them my invoice so they could verify. The authorities were satisfied with their acquisition. They left and I was cleared of all leery suspicion. Soon, the town performed the search party. Everyone wanted to find little Charlie. Months went by, but Charlie was never found. The town felt doleful, somber, and confound. The search continued past the winter climb. The town wanted justice for this terrible crime. Sadly, this case would be solved, all in due time. While kids were outside playing in the sun, screams and cries could be heard by everyone. Down by the river was a terrible sight. No wonder the children were wailing in fright. In the water was Charlie. He was finally found. His body covered in slime, bloated and bound. Charlie's family cried when they heard the news. Their little Charlie was dead and covered in ooze. What an awful story with nothing to amuse. What a terrible way to end the day.
The awkward silence crept up again. The only sounds that accompanied the air were the barber's shears and brushes with his comb. Any comfortable feeling I had earlier flushed out of my body. Now I really wanted to leave.
Now what's the moral of the story? Was it too sad? Or was it too gory? Well, here's an idea. Never rent or blither. For at least you're not Charlie floating down the river.
Ah, what the hell?
Don't fret or fear. Just a simple nick of the air.
I could feel warm blood run down my ear. I'm not normally queasy from blood, but due to the situation I was in, I could feel myself get lightheaded. I didn't want to be here in the first place, but now this fucking psycho of a barber was trying to cut my ear off. I'm sure whatever he did to my hair was fine. I just need to get the hell out of here. He walked to his counter, and I assumed he was reaching for the white towel to wipe off the blood from my ear, but what he did next disgusted me to my core. He admired the blood on his finger and licked the fresh blood that covered it. Oh, fuck this. I put my hands on the armrest to spring myself from the chair and make a dash for the door when suddenly black leather hands emerged from the chair and held both my arms in place. No fucking way. What the hell is this? The hands seemed to be a part of the black leather of the chair. No matter how hard I tried to escape, the hand's grip only got tighter, putting me in a deadlock. I was fucked whenever I sat down. Hey, let me go! I began to move violently in desperation, but the leather hands cemented my arms into the barber's chair. Hey, fuckface, let me go! The barber just ignored me and grabbed a new set of shears and admired them in a very menacing manner. I was using all of my strength to escape the chair, but that wasn't working. Fuck, what else could I do? I began biting the black leather hands that held me captive. Ah, damn it! The hands were not made of skin and bones. I tasted black leather, but it felt like I was biting into concrete. I cracked my teeth and blood started spewing from my mouth.
Your appetite to escape won't work. You need to be still. Don't move. Don't jerk.
After the barber finished speaking, more black leather hands sprung from the chair. A set bound my legs, ankles, and neck. 2 arms emerged from the center of the chair and wrapped around my torso, bear hugging me in place. Lastly, a hand manifested from the headrest and covered my mouth. I was a fly in a spider's web, and I couldn't even yell out. I was completely subdued. Whatever the barber had planned for me was gonna happen. The barber got closer to me with a new set of shears in his hand. He stood behind me. Naively, I kept trying to escape.
I'm trying to make you beautiful, attractive, and suitable. What's beauty without pain? It's really quite easy to attain. You just gotta be still. Relax. Don't strain.
There was silence. The barber didn't make a sound as he stood behind me. The only sounds came from me trying to escape the black leather chair. The silence was terrifying. I hated that I couldn't see what the barber was up to because there was no glass in the mirror to reflect what was going on behind me. I thrashed violently, exerting every muscle fiber trying to escape. Even with the black leather hands wrapped around my mouth, I was screaming at the top of my lungs in hopes that someone would hear me. But it was pointless. Hot tears began to roll down my face. Eventually, I stopped struggling out of complete exhaustion. I sat in silence, Was I alone? Did that bastard of a barber leave? A wishful thought crossed my mind. The barber must have left. Then another wishful thought emerged. That this is a barber shop, downtown. Someone else would eventually walk in and find me. Hours seemed to have passed, because the blood from my ear was now dry. My body began to shut down from utter fatigue. I began to feel my eyes closed. I couldn't do anything else besides rest and wait for someone to find me.
The calm before the storm. Now that you are relaxed, I can finally perform.
No, this can't be. I heard the clips of the shears by my ears. This demented fuck stood behind me this whole time and waited. He wanted me to feel hope in order to strip it away. The sound of shears progressively got closer to my ears. Closer and closer the shears got until... The barber was cutting into my ears, at first snipping small portions until he was taking complete chunks out. I could feel and hear lumps in my ears hit the floor. Suddenly, the hands that held my neck and covered my mouth pulled my head back and the headrest reclined. I was facing straight up, and looking down at me was a smiling barber, only his appearance changed. His skin was now bright red instead of dark tan. His teeth were bright white and jagged at the end of each tooth. They resembled the mouth of a shark. He no longer had pupils in his eyes. They were solid black. He had small tipped horns on his forehead. He looked like the mascot on the sign hanging outside of the building.
It looks like you have something to say. Does my appearance bother you in some way?
The black leather hand slowly released its grip from my mouth and sank back into the chair. You bastard! Before I could finish those words, he grabbed my mouth and pulled my tongue out. His hands were strong with long black fingernails.
Oh my, what terrible manners. Such foul language. Where are your standards? I hate to do this, but I say this with candor. I must remove the tongue from further slander.
With one hand, he held my tongue in place, and with the other, he reached for the shears he used to hack away at my ears. He began to calmly cut my tongue off. Ah! 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 A waterfall of blood rushed out of my mouth. I could only yell incoherently as I yelled in pain with blood draining everywhere. The black leather hand emerged from the chair again and covered my mouth. Small traces of blood seeped out of the crevices of the hand. The barber looked at my tongue and smiled. Then he slowly brought the tongue to his mouth and took a huge bite. As he chewed and savored the flavor, he threw the rest of my tongue against the wall. The barber stood over me, staring with a devilish grin. He took pleasure in seeing me suffer. After watching me squirm for a while, the barber gave his attention to my eyebrows. With his long black fingernails, he gently brushed them.
Your eyebrows, they remind me of a woman named Emily. Her presence was always so heavenly.
He stopped running his fingernails across my eyebrows and he disappeared from my line of sight. I could hear him rummaging about. It sounded like he was preparing something. I don't know how I was still alive. After everything my body has been through and all the blood I've lost, the pain alone should have made me pass out by now. fact, the bastard was pouring some type of hot liquid on my forehead. He placed a strip on my eyebrows.
I am sorry. This might cause a little pain. I won't mind if you bitch, moan, or complain.
Fuck you! Fuck you! I could feel chunks of skin being removed from my face.
Emily never liked getting her eyebrows waxed, but she never yelled. She was always poised and relaxed. As I waxed her eyebrows, it was days before her marriage. She was blissfully in love, with no notions of disparage. Ever since she was a little girl, Emily couldn't wait to be a bride. Luckily for Emily, that day would soon be tied. During her freshman year, she began to date Jim. Always by his side, she was smitten of him. They fell in love on a warm summer night, kissing and making love under the moonlight. After they graduated, Jim proposed on one knee. Emily broke down in tears and said yes with glee. In 6 months' time, she was going to be married. To Emily, the days appeared to be long and unvaried. But at last, her big day was near. The day would be full of love and cheer. Her time in my chair was pleasant and short, for Emily was busy in preparations to court. She paid me well and we said our goodbyes. As Emily crossed the street, she met her demise. She was hit by a truck. Her body was pulverized. Limbs, blood, and guts covered the asphalt. How dreadful. It was a drunk driver at fault. Oh, poor Emily, what a terrible sight. At least she didn't suffer. She was killed outright. How ironic and upsetting that Emily would die right before her wedding. What a terrible way to end the day.
After the barber finished his story, I just wanted to die.
Oh, yes. Just in case you missed the message, take heed of this warning and presage. Your days are numbered even when your life is in bliss. So cherish the moments. Don't be remiss.
The hands that kept me bound moved my head slowly, so I was sitting upright with my head facing forward. The barber stood in front of me, fixated on my face and hair.
How splendid. My work here is now finished. How quickly our time has diminished. You look dashing like a noble marquis. I mean that sincerely, not with hyperbole. But before we part, here's a precept to live by. If you're ever going to die, die in style. To greet death is better with a smile, because everyone, someday soon, will end the day in a terrible way.
All of a sudden, hellfires erupted from the mirrors. The entire barbershop was quickly engulfed in flames. The arms and hands of the chair still kept me in place. I couldn't do anything but suffer in the demon's inferno. I could feel my skin being scorched by the flames. The pain was excruciating as I saw my skin begin to peel away. The barber stood still, not affected by the hellfire, with that fucking stupid grin across his face. He took a bow, and then he reached for the shears on the counter and walked casually towards me. The pupils in his eyes were no longer black. They were white and burned brighter than the hellfire. He let out a demonic laugh. The barber raised the shears in the air amongst the flames and swiftly brought them down into my eyes. No. I woke up in a deteriorated building. I was in the barber shop, but everything was burnt, run down. I looked down the hallway, expecting to see that demon devil, but no one was standing there. I was still sitting on the chair. What happened to all the blood? Where were the black leather hands and arms? The hands! I jumped out of the chair and fell on the floor. I got up quickly and violently took off the cape still attached around my neck. I ran outside the door and was greeted with the sun's rays. I turned around and looked at the rundown building. I saw the sign. Hell of a cut, except it was barely recognizable. It was weathered and burned. The whole building was burnt. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make any fucking sense. My car was parked in the same spot as last night. I ran to my car and slammed the door shut. I sat in silence for a little while. I didn't want to look in the mirror. He deformed me. I would never look the same. I slowly raised my head and gazed into the mirror. I expected to see a monster. Instead, I looked extraordinary. In fact, the best haircut I've ever received. My fade was pristine, my eyebrows were straight, and I was clean shaven. It was the best version of me I've ever seen. None of this makes sense. I felt the pain, being stabbed, the blood, burning alive. How was none of that real? But my haircut, eyebrow wax, and shave was? I admired myself in the mirror. After time had passed, a terrible thought suddenly crossed my mind. What a terrible way to end the day.